Hello, hello, everybody. This is the first time I'm going live on YouTube. Just wanted to check this out and see how this is. I see I have zero people connected and zero likes. Thank you for the likes and the people connected. Okay. Anyway, I do bring you a topic today, and in this case, I'm going to be talking about Kant versus Greene. Both of them are Tauruses, and lately I've been reading a lot of Tauruses, like Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, Kant, and all of his ideas on basically rationale and idealism. And I've also been reading, of course, Robert Greene's book on seduction. And well, all of them have heavy ideas, like as you may know, some other Tauruses like Marx, Karl Marx, and Sigmund Freud. And well, to make a long story short, I'm at a point where both of them are actually talking about the senses, right? Like hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, right? Like these senses, touching, right? The senses that we know as human senses, the five senses, the five basic senses. They say there are more like direction, orientation, time orientation. But just let's leave it at the five senses, right? They say there are senses that, you know, basically give off or are the beginning of mental activity, right? Now, first, I'm going to start with Kant, philosopher Immanuel Kant, and he says that human senses activate the mind, right? The concepts, as well as the rationale. You know, when we're rational, when we're thinking rationally, or when we're thinking logically about things, right? So Kant says this. He basically makes like sharp distinctions between things, as in like the object is not what your representation of the object is, right? Or your intuition, and being able to have that intuition for something is not the same as the structure for the intuition, right? Like the mold, the form, right? The content and the shape, right? Kind of like those ideas. Um, so anyway, he says that when we see something, when we perceive it with our senses, thanks to our senses, we are able to understand it and think about it, right? So uh, for this, we have to understand that there's like this distinction between like the physical world, right? The sensing world, the mental world, the spiritual world, and the emotional world, right? At least those are the four types of realms or human dimensions that have been spoken about or that have been talked about, right? So in this case, the senses, the physical world, activate the mental world, right? The conceptual world. It helps you understand what's in the world around you, right? Thanks to your senses. But then Robert Greene, in his book on seduction, I'm at the part where he's talking about using physical bait or physical, they're called like, yeah, just using your body, right? Like a touch, like you know, hands touching or making contact to seduce someone, right? So he's talking about seduction, and he says that when you use this, like after the seduction is advanced, obviously, when you use these type of physical touches, the other person basically throws logic and rationale out the window and basically gives themselves to the pleasure, to the physical pleasure, to the the body starts to take over, right? And I was like, yeah, like logic is thrown out the window, moral is thrown out the window, social taboos are thrown out the window, right? And this allows people to succumb to their emotions. So I was like, okay, so which is it? And I guess you could say, well, it's both, right? Sensing helps us understand things, but it also helps us like feel things, more intense, right? So if like we're around someone we like and then they touch us, right? Well, that's gonna provoke us, right? That's gonna arouse us like sexually. So that is dealing with the emotional, right? So it's funny how the physical realm can give way to the mental world, but also to the emotional world, right? And like I said, we have this notion of things either being for the mind, for the body, for the heart, for the emotions, or for the spiritual, right? But at the end of the day, it's kind of funny to see how they all interact with one another, and we can actually use them. We can use one to favor the other, and vice versa, right? So that's kind of interesting to see. So, what are your thoughts on this? I just wanted to kind of finish this video, this live. I feel like it's just a video, and yeah, what do you think? Do our senses influence our mental more than our emotion, or do they influence our emotion more than our mental? So it's kind of like this triangle, this three-way that I'm working with. The spiritual dimension, I've always had problems identifying it because I kind of feel like it falls. They say that we even have a social dimension. I feel like the spiritual dimension falls in with emotion, right? Because it's more abstract. And I would even dare say that, like, emotion and mind are kind of similar, right? Or, like, where is the clear distinction between those two, right? I know there is a difference between the external and the internal, right? The external world, what we perceive, and what is inside of us, right? Like our emotions and our thoughts. I know there's a distinction, there's a clear distinction there. But yeah, like when it comes to the spiritual realm, I have a hard time understanding what it even is, right? I know it's this type of like religious contact with God, um, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's like emotional and mental too. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. So that's all I got for this live, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace. Let me see how I can finish this.